Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Bible Illustrated Hands. Today's episode will be sort of different because it's not based on any question that somebody asked, but there was a minor unfortunate event in the community tab on my main channel and I wanted to address some things. And that is that deals of course primarily with Greta Thunberg and everyone and her speech. But before I comment on that one, I want to share some of my thoughts on the climate change. Please be aware that this whole video will be a topsy-turvy and that you will probably take turns what you agree with me, what you disagree with me, and everything. Okay. So, first things first, I do believe that climate change is real. Yes, that oceans and air temperature and Earth in general is getting warmer. I also do believe that us humans are the primary contributors to that, because I don't think you need to go far to experience that. One only needs to come into a big city, preferably not in Europe, but Europe will do as well, and simply experience the smog. And when you experience that smog, then I don't think it is a huge leap of faith to conclude that the planet itself is not doing much better. So yeah, I think that climate change is real. But I will put a little caveat there, but I'll do it at the end of the video. Second thing, I do believe that anti-climate change folks are a huge lobby, and that majority of their activism is based on money, because fossil fuel industry is a huge industry, and these sorts of people are not, how to put it, won't give up the reins as easily, because in the same way I don't know, tobacco industry claims that tobacco isn't, or once claimed that tobacco isn't all that unhealthy, but were proven wrong by mere experience. Like in that same manner, I believe that the fossil fuel industry is a very powerful industry and that they won't admit to climate change easily because it would directly conflict both their interests and their earnings. However, I believe the same with climate change activists. I think that there's a lot of alarmism, if that's even a word. Well, they're alarmists, and I believe that there's a lot of alarmists among them for the precisely same reasons I said as regards to fossil fuel people. That is, there are people, and quite a number of them, who put up, very alarming news articles and so on, maybe even studies. I don't know. I can't vouch for that. That all of us are going to die in the next 2 years unless climate change policies are implemented. And those climate change policies come usually with huge monetary funds that, of course, people want to tap into. And what better way to do it than to impose policies? And causing panic is always the best way to bring about change, If you don't want to have vaccines, the best way to do it is to convince people that children are getting autism or something. The best way to remove that little pesky minority that you're annoyed by and that you owe money to is to claim that they have drained your child of blood in their bloody ritual. That is as stale as old as time. So, yes, I do believe that fear-mongering is the go-to strategy of majority of world politics, and I think that fear-mongering is basically evil. Also, I do believe that a lot of fear-mongering, sadly, comes from the its origin is in the best possible place, and that is, good intentions. Ends justify the means, and people will always believe that. So if you want to claim like that, oh, we are all going to die unless we make smart factories with filters and everything. Yes, I think that especially in the climate change industry, let's call it like that, I think that people there are much more, open to well-meaning lies, white lies or something. However, let me flip it yet again. I much prefer climate change alarmists than fossil fuel deniers, because there was once this great comment that I have read somewhere, and I agree with it completely. It basically said, even if the climate change is a complete lie, why wouldn't we want clean air? And that is true. We don't need, green filters or whatnots only because climate change. It is because clean air and water and soil are good for us. And you really have to be blind in order to think that these things aren't problematic, I mentioned the case of, polluted cities with smog, and there are photos of comparison of facades in the cities that have stood the test of ages, like, for example, statues on cathedrals, that simply got ruined by air pollution, because the stone isn't meant to dwell in such a polluted air, and I think that's a huge problem. So yeah, even if there is absolutely no climate change, still, for example, Serbia has a lot of issues with plastic bags. We throw them everywhere. Then they clog our drainage systems. Then these things then rivers overflow. There is no drainage. There are floods, and then after everything is resolved, those drainage canals are clogged yet again by the endless streams of plastic bags, and it's horrible. By the way, once I was selling these Orthodox books on a stand in one of the city parks, and I was sitting there, and a crow landed on a trash bin. It picked up a tied garbage bag, threw it on the ground, tore open the content, took whatever food it found, and flew off. And I was watching that, and I was thinking, man, someone will pass by all of this mess and will say, us Serbs are such pigs. It wasn't, But yeah, it is problematic. All of this is only part one of the of the two-part series that I'm making. Immediately after I post this video, I will post a second video, honest thoughts on Greta Thunberg, I apologize, where I hope to elaborate on the small controversy that I had on my channel. Again, it's nothing major, and I'm so happy that that I have audience that basically keeps it at normal levels. Oh, and one more thing. I love Community Tab for one reason. I may have mentioned this, but I can't remember. When you post something on Community Tab and people put comments, people cannot comment on other people's comments. I can, but once I do it, people cannot respond to it, and they love it so much because it's not so much that I have the last word. It's really not about that. It's just that I like that once I comment, the discussion is over. It's not. Now it sounds wrong, but it's really not that I have the last word. It's just that in my head it's done and over. So let's move on to the Greta video.